Did Ted DiBiase Jr. steal your hard-earned tax dollars meant for needy families here in the state, or did he legitimately earn them? That's the central question in this big case. Day 7 of this trial saw John Davis back on the witness stand, where he became emotional and even broke down once again for a second day in a row. He's the former head of the Department of Human Services.
I come from money, I come from class. They love the story, they love the past. Won't let a courtroom spoil my dream, cause I got money and I can do anything.
Day 7 of the Ted DiBiase Jr. trial just had the kind of moment that changes the temperature in a courtroom. John Davis, the former head of Mississippi DHS and the guy prosecutors call the ringleader of this situation, broke down on the stand after the defense showed emails about Ted keeping his mother on his birthday list, which is the weirdest thing I've ever heard in a news article. And Davis said he lost his own mother, and then he started crying. And I'm telling you right now, when a jury sees a witness crack like that, it can shift the entire feel of the case, even if it doesn't change the facts. So today we're breaking down what happened, what the defense is trying to prove, what prosecutors say is still the core truth, and why the faith-based funding angle is bigger than people realize. Welcome back to the Tea Drop. Strong brew, no soft behavior. I'm Arrow. We don't do fake outrage. We do clear breakdowns. Let's pour this properly. Ted DiBiase Jr., former pro wrestler, son of the $1 Million Man, is on trial in federal court in Jackson.
Well, today marked another full day of testimony in the Ted DiBiase Jr. welfare fraud trial. DiBiase is accused of playing a role in a $2.9 million scheme with former Mississippi Department of Human Services Director John Davis. Back on the stand, defense attorney Scott Gilbert questioned Davis throughout the day as Davis appeared more emotional and vulnerable, at one point becoming tearful while discussing his role in the scandal. Testimony is set to continue tomorrow morning at 8:45.
It's weird that, because I read from this article, from this news channel, that he was crying over something about his Ted DiBiase and his mother. Like, it's such a weird case. I don't know what is up with John Davis. Is he just getting very emotional for no reason because he's about to go to jail or whatever? I'm so confused with this. But let's continue with another news channel article and their thoughts about this trial.
The state's largest welfare scandal involves millions of your tax dollars being misused.
Today, the ringleader took the stand once again, testifying against Ted DiBiase Jr.
Now, the former pro wrestler faces multiple charges, including money laundering, theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy.
So money laundering, theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy. And we already went over in a previous video on how many counts this is. We're talking pretty much, if he's guilty on all these, he's pretty much in jail for life.
If convicted, he could spend decades in prison. 3 on your side's Quentin Smith has been in the courtroom. He breaks down the testimony from day 7 of this trial.
Did Ted DiBiase Jr. steal your hard-earned tax dollars meant for needy families here in the state, or did he legitimately earn them? That's the central question in this big case. Day 7 of this trial saw John Davis back on the witness stand, where he became emotional and even broke down once again for a second day in a row.
2 days in a row this man has been crying. 2 days. Damn, man.
He's the former head of the Department of Human Services.
He looks so calm and complacent here, yet when he's in the court, he's crying. That's probably the worst place to do it. He should be waiting till he gets home if he wants to cry. I don't know. Like, the court just will use that in any way if you show a sign of weakness like that.
Prosecutors say Davis funneled welfare dollars to 2 nonprofits. Those groups then gave contracts to DiBiase's companies. While on the stand, Davis testified that DiBiase knew the money was supposed to be used for welfare needs. When it comes to giving DiBiase his contracts, Davis says he thought the former pro wrestler was providing legitimate services and that he never intended for anyone to steal the money.
So it looks like John Davis is stating that DiBiase is at fault when it comes to this case, that he provided what it sounds like fake documents saying he had a legit business, but it looks like he didn't, since he is saying also that he didn't use the money that was given for the use of welfare needs. And he never intended, and he never saw the intent for anyone to steal the money. So he's trying to put himself outside of this picture. He's trying to say, I didn't know. I'm innocent. And he's trying to put, looks like, all the blame on Ted DiBiase. Anyway, let's keep going.
In court, the defense attorneys argued DiBiase did fulfill his contracts and that he did not pocket the money.
He's saying he didn't pocket the money. He's saying that he did his job. Well, I'm hoping part of the case is for him and his defense to show proof of that he did the job. Look how happy they look, by the way. Did you notice? His wife is happy. He looks okay. He doesn't look upset the way Davis does. Davis looks like he's down on his luck, and this guy is just, I just went to court today. Not a big deal. They look fine.
Pocket the money. The defense showed DiBiase's first contract from Families First for Mississippi. It was back in April of 2017 for
The DiBiase's company received first contract from Families First for Mississippi in April of 2017. That's a welfare program.
$250,000.
$250,000. The first contract.
DiBiase agreed to provide leadership training services.
Leadership training service. So he trained people for work? Okay.
The defense says the contract had no requirements on how the money was supposed to be spent. DiBiase just had to provide the training, which he did, according to the defense. However,
So I want to know what his training program is. I'm actually curious, because $250,000 for training. I want to know how long the contract was for. I hope they reveal that in the future testimonies, because we need to know more details about this. It's so broad right now.
the prosecution disagrees. They call the contracts phony. Prosecutors accused DiBiase of pocketing more than $2 million and using that money to buy a boat and a home in Madison County. Day 7 of the trial wrapped up suddenly and unexpectedly. When we returned from lunch, the courtroom was empty. The judge then came down and said he has matters to address in another case, and as a result, he's putting this trial on pause until Friday morning.
So yeah, that's what I was talking about prior, that he had to pause this case in order to finish up another case. So in brief, as we know, DiBiase is charged with 13 counts: conspiracy, wire fraud, theft, concerning programs receiving federal funds and money laundering. The government alleges he and others fraudulently obtained federal funds, including from TANF and TFAP, through nonprofits and sham contracts tied to his companies. Priceless Ventures and Families Orientum are the names of those two companies. And the allegation is those contracts paid out millions for social services the government says were not provided. And money was allegedly used on personal purchases like a vehicle, a boat, and, as you heard, housing expenses. That's the what. Now here's the why today mattered. According to WJTV, during the cross-examination on Wednesday, the defense showed Davis prior emails between him and DiBiase. Now that's what these videos don't go through, and you have to actually read the articles from these news sources to get this full intent. In one exchange, DiBiase mentions he kept his mother on his birthday list, and Davis breaks down saying he lost his mother. How's that relevant to what DiBiase said? I don't understand why he would break down over that. I get it. If you miss your parents, I understand, but not in this is not the time. This is a not the time moment. But anyway, now, okay, let's be clear. This isn't the defense proving innocence with a sad moment. That's not how the court works. But it is the defense doing something very strategic. They're framing, it looks like, the relationship as personal, real, and initiated by Davis, not Ted, which is what I talked about in last week's video. Because their claim is Davis met DiBiase in 2017. Davis pursued DiBiase with a contract, and DiBiase didn't seek him out. Not at all, for funds. The defense wants jurors thinking, wait, if Davis was the one pushing these deals, why are we acting like Ted engineered the whole machine? So it's basically the legal version of don't blame me, you DM me first. In simplest terms, that's the best way we can go about this in order to understand this levels and levels of layer of complexity. Prosecutors, though, are staying planted on their core structure. They say Davis directed the welfare funds to those two nonprofits. Family Resource Center of North Mississippi, FRC, Mississippi Community Education Center, MCEC, run by Christy Webb and Nancy New, two people that already have stated they pleaded guilty in the wider scandal. Then those nonprofits allegedly awarded sham contracts, including contracts to DiBiase's companies. And prosecutors say Davis directed millions to Ted and to Ted's brother, Brett DiBiase. So the prosecutor doesn't need Ted to be the mastermind. They just need to show Ted knowingly participated and benefited through the fraudulent contracts. Now, here's a huge tension from David's testimony as described in the reporting. Davis testified he believed DiBiase was providing legitimate services and said he didn't intend for anyone to steal money. But prosecutors also say Davis testified that DiBiase knew the money was supposed to be used for welfare needs. That's the push-pull going on right now. I thought it was real, but he knew the source of the funds. I didn't intend theft, but the contracts were the source of the funds or were structured with weak oversight. And that's why the defense is trying to hammer the setup and the intent piece. They want jurors to believe it was sloppy, informal, unguarded, but not criminal. Like when your friend says it's not illegal, it's just unorganized. And you're like, bro, the judge is not going to accept unorganized as a defense. Now, this is the part that makes this case bigger than one wrestler. Mississippi Today reports Davis described meeting Ted around a 2017 meeting at the governor's mansion where Davis said then Governor Phil Bryant discussed new federal faith-based initiatives, and Brett DiBiase was there talking about their father's ministry, Heart of David, being involved. That's important context because the communication between Davis and DiBiase brothers reportedly lean heavily into faith language. God sent, God loves you, scripture, that whole vibe. And Mississippi Today also reports, Mississippi Today being the newspaper, I apologize if I wasn't clear, the DiBiase family secured nearly $6 million in federal grants through Davis's agency, with most coming from TANF. Here's some key points. TANF can be used in different ways, but it's supposed to be about preventing poverty and supporting families in need. So when we hear faith-based initiative, some people hear community help. Other people hear a loophole with vibes. And the jury has to sort out, was this legit faith-based programming done correctly? Or was it a convenient lane move to move public money with less oversight? Now, the defense position, as described in the reporting, is essentially Ted fulfilling contracts, services were delivered, and the contracts didn't even spell out strict spending requirements. It was about providing training. That's why you keep seeing this training program focus in their defense, as you saw in the videos. They want jurors to see Ted as a contractor doing work, not a guy running a sham. Meanwhile, the prosecution calls the contracts phony and say DiBiase's pocketed millions using money to buy a boat and home-related expenses. So this whole fight is what's performance and what's cover. Because in wrestling terms, this is basically the difference between, yeah, I showed up to TV, and yeah, but did you actually wrestle the match? Day 7 of this trial ended weird. The judges had to handle other matters and the trial got paused, with Davis expected to return for a continued cross-examination when proceedings resume, probably in this coming week. So next up, it seems the defense is likely to keep pressing who initiated the deals, what exactly was delivered, and who approved what, and how much of this was a system problem versus a person problem. And prosecutors will keep hammering money flow, sham contract structures, and benefits of individuals instead of families. So to close it off, here's the clear takeaway. Today, when it comes to this court case so far, it wasn't about shocking new accusations. It's about reframing. The defense is trying to move the spotlight from Ted chased money to Davis built the lane and recruited Ted. And prosecutors are saying, cool story, but the money was federal assistance and the contracts weren't real. In that emotional moment, it's a reminder that behind the paperwork, this is a messy human story. But the jury's job is still the same. Follow the money, follow the contracts, and follow the intent. This has been the Tea Drops, Strong Brew, no soft behavior. If you want me to keep doing trial updates as this continues, hit the like, subscribe, and comment. Keep pouring so I know you're locked in.